The Internet is an unprecedented gateway to a vast wealth of knowledge and information for all ages. It is especially promising for the school-age child, where benefits can be obtained through research, online math and language games, and supplemental online tutoring. But there is growing evidence that unsupervised online activity by children and teenagers is not all good. The Internet can be a conduit for inappropriate content, contact, and conduct to detrimental effects. Once online, no one is completely immune from encountering its harmful side. More so children who learn through exploration and natural curiosity. As parents or adults responsible for a child's safety, both physically and mentally, it is imperative that we educate, monitor, and set limits to their online activity. To better understand the benefits and pitfalls of children's online technology use, the Telecommunications Authority of Trinidad and Tobago held the Open Forum seminar entitled Safeguarding Our Children in Cyberspace. This forum brought together online experts, key stakeholders, and members of the general public to discuss, inform, and educate guardians in keeping our children safe when they are online. TATT has had a history of cyber safety awareness programs and is now partnering with the University of the West Indies to help expand initiatives to educate adults and young people on cyber safety.
TATT has welcomed an opportunity to partner with the University of the West Indies. TATT and UWI recently signed a memorandum of agreement in this regard. The aim of this program is to promote increased knowledge and awareness of cyber safety and the appropriate use of the Internet in both primary and secondary schools in Trinidad and Tobago. This program aims to formalize a cyber safety awareness program for schools to promote the safe and effective use of this technology. The program will address the concerns of school principals with regard to the inappropriate use of social media, as well as the helplessness experienced by school staff to address the risk posed to students. It will also provide parents and guardians with the knowledge to address the risk posed to their children and guardians when engaged in online activities. This is one of a major 10th anniversary event for TATT. To facilitate this goal, TATT and UWI will be working with Cyberspace TT, an organization that already promotes cyber safety awareness in schools in South Trinidad. TATT is confident that its efforts and those coming out of the joint UWI-TATT agreement will increase awareness amongst children, their parents, and their teachers about not only the dangers associated with using the Internet, but also the wide range of personal development benefits that come with the intelligent use of the Internet.
Children and teens are creating and sharing information more than ever, using digital media such as cell phones, smartphones, and computers. But with this can come a world of secret messages, hashtags, photos, and acronyms, some of which may have far-reaching consequences. It is important for parents to learn about the different technologies and how your children use them so you can help keep them safe online. Darren Doré of Cybersafe TT shares some statistics and gives some insight into the hidden codes being used to evade and trick guardians.
An interesting figure, 25% of all Facebook users are under the age of 11. Now, if we understand that figure, Facebook's user accounts are in actually the billions, so we could do the math there and see how many young kids we actually have on Facebook. 20% of those kids post their cell phone numbers online. 90% of users in general share their real name and photos on Facebook. So you might ask yourself, well, that's fine, but why should we be bothered if kids post their cell phone numbers online or share their real name and photos? Well, have a look at these statistics. The following year, again in the United States, it was found that 65% of online sex offenders use Facebook to get home and school information. So basically, they could find out where your kid lives and where they go to school just by looking at Facebook. We should also be knowledgeable about chat acronyms. And I thought it was best to put this, even though it's not entirely technical, but it touches on what, interestingly enough, it touches what Mr. Allen had said about parents being in the know. So here are some popular chat terms. I'll give you a minute to have a look. Now, I thought I was hip, but I only know the ones in red. And these are some cool ones, you know, as far as I know, after all, crocodile, laugh out loud, and so on. Kids can actually have an entire conversation with these chat terms. You look at their device, their phone, whatever it is, and an entire conversation is going on and not one word is being spelled. And it's cool, it's the in thing, and it will continue happening. But, I mean, why is this something that we should be aware of? Well, most of you would have probably seen it already, but what do you think about these chat terms? These are actually being used as well. And I think these are the more important ones that we need to take into consideration. So the next time you see they put POS in the thing, they're not talking about Port of Spain.
Clinical psychologist and facilitator of the Love and Logic parenting program, Alicia Hoyt, discusses parenting around technology and the importance of parental attitudes and influences in raising children.
The temptation to put our children in front of a little device is very, very strong. It's an excellent babysitter, will I? It's an excellent babysitter. I've watched friends of mine and I've resisted the urge to do the same at some point. I have to be honest, there's no other way to be. So it's very, very tempting. Mummies, when you come home in the afternoon and you have to make dinner and this child up and down, what's the easiest thing to do? The TV, that's what we do. Anybody remember puzzles and board games? They still work. They still work. They work just fine. How about hula hoop on an old tire? Anybody has those? A length of rope? A box? We're not joking here. When we have young children, we can provide many other opportunities for them to be active and creative and to generate from within their heads rather than having something feed them and feed them pleasure. And so I have to make a conscious decision to take out access to some of these other influences and allow my child to operate within a controlled environment, which is my home, with things that they can now create. And it works. It works. I have to make screen time contingent on their behavior. And so there is screen time, but it ought to be after something else has happened. So feel free to enjoy your half hour of screen time after you have. Give me one. Finished your homework. Done your chores. Take out the garbage. Whatever it is. Whatever your house requires. Now, do I just take it all away, ban my child, tell him never go online ever again? Yes? No? Is that a useful approach? It's not practical. And the fact of the matter is, they're growing into a world of knowledge workers. They need the technology. That is the way the world is going to function. Baby boy at 1 already know to put his cell phone to the ears. Yeah? And to touch the screen to make something happen. I didn't know that as a child. I didn't know what the screen was for. Yeah? And so they need the technology. They're growing in a world where they're going to be knowledge workers. And so what can we do as parents? We really need to encourage other interactions.
Sergeant Dale Joseph of the Cybercrime Unit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service talks about the reality of cybercrime in Trinidad and Tobago and its alarmingly high rate amongst teenagers.
We at the Cybercrime Unit, we have been receiving a lot of reports, disturbing reports as it relates to our teenagers. I know in some circles, in Trinidad and Tobago, we believe that our children are safe because we don't really hear of any child abductions, any issues of our children being involved in negative activities on the internet. I am here today to tell you that that is not the case. Now, my job restricts me from calling or identifying some actors involved in these instances, but I'll also want to identify a few cases for you all, so that we have an understanding of what is actually happening in Trinidad. Let me go back a bit. Right, Granny Killer. This young lady was 13 years old, and she made threats to the Prime Minister on YouTube. This matter was investigated by our unit, and it was a very, I want to say, disgraceful matter for that young lady. Teachers involved in sexual misconduct. There was a teacher in a prestige school who actually showed his private parts via Skype to a female student. Lewd and suggestive posts and videos. Several students having intercourse, and these posts being posted online. Violence in secondary schools. I mean, I heard wrestling mentioned earlier on, but we have seen a lot of fights. Teachers can't even control some of these students in these secondary schools, and these videos are being posted online. So are we using social media to promote violence in schools?
I'm wondering to what extent, from a psychological point of view and maybe from a pedagogical point of view, have any work been done in terms of the cyberspace, the digital age, and all these things, what impact it has on the learning process, cognitive development, critical thinking skills?
There will be research, I'm sure, that says we need to encourage our children in critical thinking. The information is going faster than we can think about it, basically. And so part of the pulling away from how much our children access internet is about teaching them to think for themselves and to ask questions and to reason and to think critically. You can't get away from the need to read and the literature and studying literature and asking questions and having group discussions. As human beings, we process information more slowly than it's coming at us through these outlets. So yes, there is reason to be concerned. We can teach our children to use these tools positively. We can model positive use of YouTube and Facebook. We can have discussion and conversation with our children about what they're seeing and what they're doing.
What age do you recommend that really we could start, or is it safe to start? Or is there an age where there should really be no interaction with technology of that nature, cell phone and the like? Yes?
I know I think it's the American Pediatric Association talked about under the age of 2, children really should not be viewing screens. I don't know if anybody want to add to that. But in terms of not viewing screens and screen time and so on. I think they're taking a cautious road because there hasn't been enough research to show the impact of extensive viewing at such a young age in terms of brain development and so on. And so basically I think they're taking in front rather than waiting to find out 10 years later we should have. Let's just say at least from this age under, let's cut it out. Right? But of course, like you said, in daycares, the TV screens are on for any length of time and so on. So I've had that conversation with my own son's daycare in terms of encouraging reading. One of my questions is, if we're having difficulty getting children to read now, what's going to happen to the generation that's coming up that only knows screens?